Hi everyone, welcome to the Teacher Experience. My name is Miss Dearman, so we're going to start this podcast by introducing ourselves. So I'm Miss Dearman, I'm a science teacher and also a Senko. I absolutely love my job. I've been doing it now for 4 years, so I'm still quite new really.
Yeah, I am Miss Wild. I am a science teacher as well, so I teach biology, chemistry and physics. I used to teach A-level biology, but I don't now. I'm currently an ECT leader, so I'm a lead practitioner within teaching and learning, and I've been doing the job for 6 years, and I absolutely love it and would recommend anyone to be a teacher. So we are so excited to bring you the Teacher Experience podcast.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to sharing all of our insights with you about school, about science, about life as a teacher, really. I always say to Naomi that I just love speaking to all my teacher friends. We all completely understand each other's life.
Yeah.
Like this is a vocation. And yeah, can't wait to share it with you.
So the way we are going to start every single podcast is by doing a WWW, which is a what went well from our week, and we are going to do an EBI, so an even better if from our week, just so that you can get a interest in what we do each week and what we take away from each week, what reflections we have. And yeah, we would like to share that with you. So first of all, Miss Dearman, what is your what went well from this week?
So this is actually a new concept to me. So I don't actually do this in my school, and I didn't do it in my previous school either.
So that's so interesting because I've used it in every school that I've ever been in as a reflective technique.
I think it is really good. Since we've been talking about it, I think I should introduce it to my school. But my what went well, it's actually the 6th of January as we're recording this, so I haven't been back at school yet. So
lucky.
Yeah, I was really lucky. I got 3 weeks off this Christmas, so super lucky. My what went well was actually nothing to do with teaching. I actually spent this week, because obviously most of my friends that aren't teachers have gone back to school.
Yeah.
Most of my friends that are teachers are also back at school, so I kind of had the week on my own. So I get quite nervous about going back to school and feeling like I have to get everything done. So
you get that anxious feeling, don't you, about, oh my goodness, have I got everything done? Is my life admin done?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been trying to sort out my life because I know the next 5 weeks, 6 weeks, the next half term, I can't do anything.
No.
So I have painted 2 rooms in the last week, which
Amazing.
is great. So I've painted my downstairs bathroom, my upstairs bathroom. I've been sorting life admin out. Like I've been booking appointments at the doctors for the next few weeks, like doing all those boring jobs, going to the bank.
Insurance, car MOTs.
Yeah, all of that. Getting my car washed, because I know for the next 6 weeks I'm not going to be able to do anything. So yeah, what went well was life admin, all done, ticked off. I feel ready.
Perfect.
My even better if, I've definitely avoided doing this, but I was meant to mark some A-level biology papers.
We all avoid it.
Yeah.
We all do. It's natural. We bring it home, we take it to work, we bring it home, we take it to work.
Yeah, it just goes on like a trip to my house, then comes back to school. I haven't done them. I've been avoiding them, and I'm not ashamed to say that. Like, I was actually really excited to paint my bathroom and not mark these papers.
Holidays are not for marking papers. They are for painting bathrooms and life admin, unfortunately, and spending time on your own and enjoying your own company and relaxing, but then also having that time with your family.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, because I do feel like there's an expectation for us to work in the holidays.
Yeah.
And I'm relatively new to teaching, really. I'm only on my 4th year, but I do feel like, we are expected to take work home and do it at home.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be better and set boundaries and get a better work-life balance, I guess. So no shame, I didn't mark my biology A-level papers, but we move. I'll do them on Insta or something next week.
I genuinely want to say well done you for not doing them.
Thank you. So next question, we're going to start our podcast with kind of a similar structure for each episode. And we're going to start our podcast by asking you and our guests what your typical day was. So, Ms. Wild, what does a typical day look like for you?
So I think a typical day is something actually that is really, really important. So having a strong routine maintains your well-being, first of all. So for me, I try and have the same rough structure in my day. Obviously, I can't control my timetable, but the rough structure in my day and all the things that I can control, I try to keep the same, just for my own well-being. I know that what I'm doing is the same every day. So comically, I started the year with, I'm going to get up at 5:30. I'll be out of the house by 6:15 at the latest. That lasted maybe 3 weeks, and I realised it wasn't viable. So my typical day now is I set my alarm for 6 a.m. I give myself about 10 to 15 minutes to sort of wake myself up reasonably naturally.
Yeah, I'm always jealous of those people that their alarm goes off and then they're in the shower.
Oh yeah,
I'm not that person. I need to scroll on my phone. Yeah,
I feel really sorry for my partner because I have about 3 alarms within that 10 to 15 minutes. I'm like, sorry. Okay, I'll get out of bed now.
Yeah.
So yes, my alarm goes off at about 6. I'll be out of bed by 6:15, and I'm out the door by 6:45. So nice quick turnaround. I'll get into work, I'll have my coffee and my breakfast, and I will sit down and plan my day, which is unusual for some people, but it works for me.
So you don't have a coffee before you leave the house in the morning?
No, because it wastes time.
Okay.
I need to get to work, have my coffee, because otherwise I lose about 15 minutes.
Right.
So I'm better off doing a quick turnaround at home, get to work, make my coffee, and settle into the day nice and calmly. So really, I'll be at work about 7:15.
Okay.
And then I spend an hour, depending on if I have a morning meeting. So sometimes there's morning briefing, there's teaching and learning briefings, or I might need to catch up with one of my ECTs. So generally, I will work from 7:15 to 8:15, planning my lessons for that day, and doing anything else that I might be required to do. Interestingly, I'm quite strict on not checking my emails until I've done my lesson planning.
Okay.
So that 1 hour is where I don't talk to anyone. It's me in my classroom or the office, plan my lessons, then I'll check my emails for the day. And then obviously I will get on with my timetable day, whatever that looks like. I'm now really strict on, I will stop at break and lunch. So I will stop, I will put my laptop down, I will actively close it. I might go and sit at a window with a nice view at my lunch. I might go and see some people within the school and have a catch up. But I stop working and have some time for me to relax and reset before I'm into the next lesson. And then after school, I try and always, obviously lesson meetings, parents' evenings, etc., I try and always get out by 4:30. And then I go straight to the gym. I try and be at the gym for about 2 hours. So I'm a bit of a CrossFit fanatic. So I'll do CrossFit and weightlifting, and then I'll go home. Again, the bag obviously comes out of the car for safeguarding purposes with the laptop. But that will come in, I don't touch it, and I spend some time with my partner or on my own, eat dinner, read a book, watch some telly and relax. So that in general is a typical day for me.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. So the focus for today's podcast is going to be lifestyle. There will be various things we're going to touch on throughout each season, and every week we're going to categorize something specific to talk about. So just as an example, we're going to have well-being sessions, we're going to have alternative careers in teaching and then outside of teaching, so jobs in comparison working in corporate or having a TA role or having a technician role. So we're going to be exploring those because it's really interesting when you start talking to people that work in schools but aren't actually teachers and their perspective on the education system. And then we're also going to look at private versus state schools as well.
To be interesting.
Yes. So yeah, each week we're going to have a different theme, and each season is going to be the same with each theme. We're just going to have different guest speakers on each time. So the focus of today's podcast is lifestyle. So I've got some data ranging back from 2019 to 2023 that I'm just going to share with you guys. The National Education Union have said the number one reason for teachers leaving the profession is due to workload. This data was made available in 2023, so it's really recent data, post-pandemic data as well, and it's really important to focus on that because our job has changed since the pandemic has declared as over. The National Foundation for Education Research has also said that teachers experience a poorer work-life balance because work is so intensive during term time, and that was published in 2019. I can empathise with this because I say to my friends that aren't teachers, for 6 weeks, I am not contactable.
No.
I am so exhausted. I can't do anything for 6 weeks. I will reply to you in 5 weeks' time when the term is over. So that one really resonates with me personally, that poor work-life balance.
I think we should touch on that at some point about how much it impacts friendships being a teacher, and how the friends that we do have just have to accept and understand that during term time we're not very accessible as friends. We'll be there in dire need, but other than that, we will be there when we have the brain capacity to be there.
Yeah, and because I haven't always been a teacher, I did work in corporate before. I remember not understanding it at all. That, what do you mean you can't come out on a Tuesday? I go out on a Tuesday all the time when I work in corporate, but I can't anymore.
Because I won't be able to talk properly.
Yeah, not necessarily because I'm busy. I mean, of course, some evenings I've got to do marking when it's exam week, but just because I don't have the social battery for it.
No.
Like, our job is so
demanding.
I
saw a stat once that was about how many questions or how many decisions we make in a day, and it was absolutely ridiculous. It was thousands or something. I will have to find the stat at some point, but it made complete sense that we're so exhausted at the end of the day because of just how many decisions we are making within a split second. You're in front of a class and it's, Miss, can I move seat? No, you can't. And then in the corner of your eye you can see Bobby doing something he shouldn't be, swinging on his chair. And then you go, can you put all your legs on the floor? And they're like, yeah, I've got 2 legs on the floor. And you're like, brilliant, 4 chair legs, including your own legs. So 6 legs. How's that? And they go, well, all right.
Yeah, absolutely. So that statistic really resonated with me. I'll say it again. So teachers experience poorer work-life balance because work is so intensive during term time. I must also highlight at this point that neither Miss Wilde or myself have children.
Nope.
And it's something I think about all the time. I am exhausted. Can you imagine how people feel that have children as well? That
I genuinely congratulate
I know
people at work that have children.
Yeah.
It fascinates me. I just don't know how they do it. And I say well done most days because they've sorted all their children out in the morning, got to work, are really calm and collected most of the time. And well done, you guys. If you are listening, you are our audience with children and you're a teacher, congratulations.
Incredible.
We see you. Well done.
So my question for you today, Ms. Wild, is how do you achieve a good work-life balance?
Wow. It is, I believe, very multifaceted. There's many areas that you have to work on to get a good work-life balance as a teacher. You can tell I've been back at work for 3 days. So to get a good work-life balance as a teacher, it has taken me the full 6 years I have been a teacher to get there. I am still working on it. It's something I have to actively think about every single day and every single week. In the beginning of every term, it is something I really think about. Someone once told me, I think it was in a briefing at one of my schools, and one of the head teachers or the deputy heads said, we're really lucky as teachers. We get 2 New Years. We get the September New Year and we get the January New Year. And I think this podcast and this episode has hit at a really good time because actually it's January. It's a good time to make a really good resolution for yourself of how, even if it's one thing, how are you going to make work-life balance better for yourself?
Yeah.
So you can do that in September and you can do that in January. But the reality is you can do that at the beginning of every week. You can do that at the beginning of every day and remind yourself what you do. So the biggest things for me is, one, not taking work home.
Yes. Okay.
Which is easier said than done. Mm-hmm. And you have to plan how you're going to do that. And one of the ways I plan how not to take work home is by really organising my timetable that I get at school. So obviously you get your main timetable, but I actually pop it into Excel and then I make it bigger. So I actually have a timetable that starts at 7 a.m. and then it finishes at 7 p.m. So within that timetable, I put in what I do before school, so what my planning time is. So I'll have 7 till 8 as planning. Mm-hmm. Then I'll have obviously my normal timetable. But then within my normal timetable, obviously we have PPAs. So I will plan exactly what I do in each of those PPAs. So every single week, my PPAs are exactly the same. So for me, obviously as a induction tutor for ECTs, at the beginning of each of my PPAs, I now go and do two drop-ins for my ECTs. I've got quite a lot of them. I think I've got about 12. So obviously I want them to have a really good opportunity to learn and improve. So I try and do drop-ins as much as I can. So at the beginning of each PPA is 2 drop-ins. And then whatever plan I have for that. So whether it's doing my requisition for science, whether it's marking, etc., etc. So I plan each of my PPAs up, and then after school I will have 5 till 7 down as that's the time I'm at the gym, and that is non-negotiable. So I don't negotiate that. If I've got on my timetable 5 till 7 the gym, that's it, I'm going. There is nothing that will keep me in school, unless it's a safeguarding, obviously. Yeah. Slightly different there. Yeah. But work can wait.
Okay.
We have a set amount of hours, we have a set job to do, and if it doesn't fall within those hours, I need to be strong enough to say, no, I will pick it up in the morning and do that. And it's only since I've learnt to do that and learnt how to fit everything into my timetable and stick to it that my work-life balance and well-being has got better.
Okay. Is there a chance that your PPAs could get taken away from you? Because I'm thinking about my own school, and this was something that really surprised me when I started teaching, that every school is so different in how it runs.
So different.
So I will expect once a week for my PPA, one of my PPAs to be taken away from me, at least one, because...
An actual PPA, not just a free?
An actual PPA, yeah.
Wow.
Because of cover. I mean, since the pandemic, there's been data, and I can't remember the exact percentage off the top of my head, but the amount of sicknesses and absences since the pandemic has risen quite significantly. Our cover is quite huge at our school. So, yeah, we have to be on cover once a week.
So interestingly, I've seen that problem happen at previous schools. And again, it's something where you sort of have to stand up for yourself and go. So I let it slide once or twice, and I said, yes, I will do the cover in my PPA. So say, for example, the cover supervisor emailed me and said, can you cover XYZ? And I'd say, yes, on this one time I will cover this within my PPA, but you need to understand that it's my PPA and legally you shouldn't be taking it away from me. Therefore, I will do it this once. However, please do not ask me again, and I'll CC my line manager in.
Okay.
Because then you've made a point to say, no, I'm not doing it. It's not within my contracted hours, because as soon as that PPA gets taken away from you, that hour of planning or that hour of marking, that hour of whatever it is, you then have to do in your own time. That doesn't fit in with my non-negotiable gym.
Yeah.
That doesn't fit in with me throwing weights around a gym and doing squat cleans. So no, I don't want to do it. And I won't, because it's my PPA.
I think
my time.
Having that confidence is really important.
Yeah.
Just to say, actually no, and setting your own boundaries. There's so much expectation as teachers to do more than they're contracted, more than's reasonably expected. So it's just having that confidence, I guess, to just say no.
Just so you know.
So the gym.
Oh, my favourite place.
Do you gym every day? Because I hate that teacher. When I come in the morning, I'm so tired and I have no excuse to be because I don't have kids and I haven't got them to school in the morning. When I'm drinking my cup of tea, I'm in my classroom on my own and that teacher walks in and they're like, oh, I've already been to the gym this morning. And I'm like, oh, God, this guy.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Do you gym every day?
So it fluctuates, and obviously with parents' evenings, etc., etc. So generally in schools, obviously we're given one day that could be the parents' evening day, that could be the twilight session day.
Yeah,
that's the day that I don't put in my non-negotiable gym time, because it will always fluctuate and it'll annoy me if I put it in and then I have a parents' evening.
Yeah.
My gym routine has changed over the years. It will depend on how I'm feeling physically. It will depend on what's going on in life. Have I fallen sick? Is it mock season, etc., etc. This year I've tried to work really hard on, like I said, those non-negotiable days. So the way I've worked at the moment, I try and go for a run on a Monday. Tuesdays I don't gym. Wednesdays I try and do 2 hours. Thursday is my parents' evening, twilight session, anything could pop up day.
Yeah.
So that's if I'm lucky, I will get to do it. Fridays, interestingly, Fridays so far since September have been the day that I started a new school. So I was trying to be quite sociable and go to the library pub on a Friday and be sociable and make new friends and get myself invested in the school. But what it did mean is that once I'd done that, I didn't go to the gym. And for me, that affected me the first 2 terms. So this term, I've decided actually Friday, now I've made my impact, I maybe go to the gym every other Friday and I'll go to the library every other Friday. And then a Saturday, I spoke to my partner actually and said actually I'd quite like a Saturday morning to be for me. So I'll go to the gym, I'll do CrossFit, I'll do weightlifting, and then I'll go for a coffee with the gym girls.
Lovely.
Because again, that then creates a Saturday morning. It's all about me. It's about me resetting myself from the week, doing the things I love, and being sociable with people outside of work.
Yes.
And it's worked really, really well for me. I love a Saturday morning.
Amazing. You touched on coffee. I love a coffee. So I honestly think an oat milk latte is my favourite thing in the world.
You do like an oat milk latte, Miss Dearman.
I really do. So I have my own coffee machine at home. And it's the first thing I do in the morning is make myself an oat milk latte. Being scientists, I've done a lot of research into coffee. My mum is a coffee addict. Like, she has 5 buys a day.
That smell.
I do love
fantastic. The smell of coffee.
I love the smell of coffee. My mum has like 5 a day. I've done a lot of research into coffee.
Yeah.
There's so many good, from a nutritional perspective, coffee's really good for you in a lot of ways. But obviously it does have that caffeine element.
Yeah, of course.
That can affect your sleep. So my question to you is, how many coffees do you have a day?
Well, I try really hard to only have 1 coffee a day. And that's my morning coffee. It sets me up for the day and it makes me really happy. And I feel like I can be really focused on what I need to be focused on, such as planning my lessons.
Yeah.
However, my school does have a barista. So...
Wow, you're so lucky.
So lucky and so inexpensive. It's £2, and if you buy the coffee in the morning, it's £2 and you get free breakfast.
Wow, that is good.
Isn't it so good?
Yeah.
That's the sort of teacher benefits I'm talking about.
Do you know what? That. Mine has the same. So we have a coffee machine, an espresso.
Yeah. Oh, lovely.
Add an espresso. We also have a velvetizer.
Oh,
so the hotel,
fancy.
Yeah, the hotel chocolate velvetizer we also have at my school. So we are...
That is fancy.
Yeah, teacher perks. But I don't think that's common.
No, so this is the only school that I've worked in that actually does barista style coffee. But it does make a difference. So sort of going back to your question, I do try and only have my 1 coffee in the morning. However, sometimes you just have those days where you're like, I need a bit of a boost. So I will go either have a coffee in the office, or I will go and get one from the canteen.
Yeah.
But max I will have is 2. However, when it gets to that last week of term, I can catch myself having too many, but it has such a detrimental effect because I start relying on it, and then my body starts to fatigue really quickly. And I don't ever have an issue with sleeping, but I can feel my body starting to rely on it. And then that's the point that I actually give myself a coffee ban. So I try really hard not to get to more than 2 coffees, because I know that my body starts to fatigue if I don't have it. So yeah, 1 coffee in the morning and then potentially 1 in the afternoon to give me a bit of a boost. But other than that, I'm a strong cup of tea. And in the evenings, I try and just have a fruit tea or a green tea or a chamomile tea or a peppermint tea, something that's not got caffeine in, definitely. I'm just going to quickly pop back to the thing you said about research and caffeine. I believe, and I think you've watched it as well, wasn't there a really good podcast done by the food medic on the effects of caffeine?
Yeah, if anyone wants to know anything about caffeine, I definitely recommend listening to that. So it's The Food Medic by Dr. Hazel Wallace, and she does a whole episode on caffeine, which is a really interesting listen if you're interested.
Yeah, I totally remember going on I actually think you might have recommended it, or you at least recommended.
I did. I love her.
Yeah, she's fantastic. And we were listening to her podcast, and I went for a run, listened to the podcast, because I think my running, at least I find it easier when I'm listening to a podcast. So yeah, I listened to that podcast, and it was really, really interesting to hear about the effects of caffeine and the negatives and the positives.
Yeah, I was really happy to hear that coffee is good for you.
Yeah.
I was so happy to hear that because I love me an oat milk latte.
The best.
Thank you for sharing that. So I'm very similar. I have 1 coffee a day, but sometimes, often when I'm having a bad day, once every 2 weeks, I'm really lucky my school's in a town. So I can actually walk into town and get a Starbucks or get a Nero's.
You are so lucky that you get to walk into town.
Yeah. And
I get told off if I left the building.
Yeah, no, we're really lucky with my school. So we can leave school in our PPAs, in our frees, at lunchtime, a break. So it's fine.
That's so nice.
When I'm having a bad day and I walk into Starbucks and it costs me like £4.50 for a latte, it genuinely makes my day better. And I have no shame in that.
Apart from the £4.50.
Yeah, apart from on
the wonderful teacher's salary.
Yeah. But yeah, it definitely makes my day. So, but I'll always have that coffee before 12.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I will struggle to sleep. It's also important for us to say that caffeine affects everyone differently. And if you do go and listen to the Food Medics podcast on it, she will say the same. So what we're saying is right for us is definitely not right for other people as well.
Yeah.
I metabolize caffeine really quickly and I get a big dip from it if I drink too many, and I get very shaky. But like I said, my mum has like 5 a day and she's fine.
Yeah.
So it's just everyone's different.
I think it also depends on your source of coffee as well.
Yes.
Because where you get your coffee from will have a different effect as well. So it's all really personal, and I think our audience really needs to remember that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of research, at the end of every podcast, we're going to finish with a research bite.
I love a research bite. So excited.
Anything that we've found interesting that's obviously relevant to us, our careers, anything that you want to share. So Miss Wild, what is your research bite for this week?
So I am a classic scientist. I do love a piece of research. So my piece of research today is actually one that I recently, I think it was last term, spoke to my ECTs about. So I do training with them once every other week, just so they have a piece of in-school training as well as their ECT programs or their ITT programs. So they get a little bit more research from me as well. Now, one of my favourite books that I hold as my Bible to teaching is Teach Like a Champion by Doug Lemov. Now, if any of our audience are from Teach First, they would go, oh my goodness, that book, because Teach First rants and raves about it, but it is fantastic. Now, there is so much research in Doug Lemov's book, but one of the things that I like to use is the technique which is called no opt-out. Now we've all been in classrooms and we ask a question and we all wish for our students to go, I know the answer, miss, and give us a full sentence with a really good explanation. But we also know that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And we think, I thought I taught that so well. Why have I got blank faces? So you do cold calling, which is obviously another technique, but we'll leave that today. So the no opt-out technique, or the no opt-out process, is you ask a question, and we've all had it, where a student goes, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the most infuriating statements a student can give you.
Yeah.
So no opt-out technique is where we do not accept I don't know, because that is the student trying to opt out of answering that question, and that's not acceptable. That is not how they are going to learn. So what we do is we put in some techniques for them to get an answer. So for example, say I asked you a question as my student and you go, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I will go, okay, so we'll work the question out together. And you probe questions until they give you the answer. So for example, if I said, just because it's the first thing that's come to my head, but I taught it the last lesson before I broke for the weekend. So I was talking about the adaptations to a sperm cell.
Mm-hmm.
So if I said, can you name me an adaptation of a sperm cell? And they go, I don't know. I would go, okay, so what does a sperm cell look like? And they'd say, well, it has a head and a tail. Brilliant. You've told me that it's got a head and a tail. So which part of that would be adapted for a sperm to do its job? And they'd say, well, a tail would swim or helps it swim. And I'd go, that's fantastic. Well done. So you did know.
Mm-hmm.
And you said the sperm has a tail to help it swim to the egg. Fantastic.
Which then means they answered the original question.
They've answered the original question. They now feel confident and feel like they can answer a future question. On the other hand, they might go, I don't know, again. So you go, not a problem. I'm going to give the question to someone else, but you need to listen carefully because I'm going to come back to you. So I'll go, no worries. Okay, so everyone listening, what is an adaptation of a sperm cell? Jess, what's the adaptation of a sperm cell? And they'd go, well, I think it's got a tail.
Mm-hmm.
And you, brilliant. Felicity, why is the tail important? Because it helps it swim. Brilliant. Well done, Jess and Felicity. Bobby, what is the adaptation of a sperm cell? Well, it's got a tail, which helps it swim.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Now, all three of you know the answer. Remember, class, we're not accepting I don't know. If you need help, that's fine. But we need to keep asking questions. Don't accept I don't know.
Amazing.
Works fantastically. And the children leave learning something new and they feel confident. So next time they're in front of you, they know that I don't know isn't an option.
Amazing. Could you just tell the listeners what the name of that book was again?
Absolutely. So it's Doug Lemov is the author, and it's Teach Like a Champion 2.0, my teaching Bible.
Amazing. Well, I didn't do Teach First. That's not the route that I went into teaching. And I was never told to read this book. So that's interesting.
It is interesting. It's one I always recommend to any ITT or ECT that comes in.
Interesting. Thank you so much. That actually brings us to the end of our first episode. So episode 2 of each season, we're going to look at alternative careers. So that could be anything like TAs or
technicians,
Senko. It could also be any job outside of teaching. So we could look at corporate jobs versus teaching and the pros and cons of each one as well. So next week's episode is going to be on corporate jobs versus teaching jobs.
Very exciting.
Because teaching is my second profession. I actually didn't ever used to be a teacher. I worked in London and had a corporate job. So we're going to explore that and the pros and cons of both careers. And it'll be no surprise to you guys, but I do actually prefer my teaching role. So yeah, we're going to explore that and it'll be really interesting. But thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next Teacher Experience podcast. Please share with all of your friends, your teachers, and spread the word so that we can reach as many teachers as we can.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Cool.
Exhausted.